tuned into the Jersey Comic Room, and on today's video, we're going to talk about a comic book review of Venom Island, issues 21 to 25. Stay tuned to find out what happens in this book, and more importantly, if you should buy it. We're going to do a comic book breakdown of Venom Island. It's an arc that just happened in the ongoing Donny Cates comic book. This arc covers issues 21 to 25. Just give you a quick recap of what happened in this book. This is the first storyline after the events of Absolute Carnage. For those of you who don't know what Absolute Carnage is, we did a video on it back on our channel. You can check it out. Pretty much, Cletus Cassidy, Carnage comes back, wreaks havoc on the world, tries to take Venom. You know, normal Carnage things, right?
Looks like a zombie. It's awesome.
Yes, but during that event, part of Carnage kind of got infected into Venom, into Eddie Brock, and now he kind of has to go purge himself. So he goes to this isolated island with the help of the Avengers. He flies over there. They kind of purges himself of the Carnage symbiote. So while he does that, you know, he's dealing with his own internal battle with the Carnage symbiote. Dylan, his son, who's back at home, is exploring his self out and realizes that he has powers himself. Probably
exploring himself out. That sounds odd.
In a non-sexual way, you dirty bastards. But he's learning that he has powers. So he has to deal with that, probably because he is the son of Venom, Eddie Brock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during this whole time, we see that Eddie is losing this fight against Carnage, and is forced to cut off his own hand to try to survive. So
crazy.
It was very graphic. I mean, the tension building up to that moment was huge. He cuts off his own hands to try to beat Carnage, right? And then he's still on his way to try to go and take out Carnage. He climbs up a giant tower to get lightning strike to hurt Carnage even more so that way he could be alive. During this whole time, his Venom symbiote isn't really there, isn't really conscious to help him. So he's really all alone. Then he blacks out and he thinks he's back with the Avengers. He thinks he's safe. He looks out the window and he sees Null, the god of all the symbiotes, is in the United States, on Earth, in Manhattan, wreaking havoc. He finally wakes up and realizes that he's trapped by Carnage in like this mental prison, and Carnage is doing everything he can to get off the island to infect the world. Dylan has a piece of the Carnage symbiote in the box and kind of realizes that his dad's in trouble, somehow opens a portal due to his newfound abilities, goes through the portal and wants to save his dad. The Venom symbiote talks to him and realizes that he can take on the form of anything because it is not around him. He decides to take a form of the most powerful thing that any kid could think of in the world, and that is a T-Rex. So we have a giant Venom T-Rex fighting against Carnage, while Dylan is in like this Venom symbiote mind space trying to free his dad from prison. Ultimately, Dylan gets captured in there. The two of them break free. They're able to defeat Carnage, get off the island, talk to the real Avengers, and Eddie Brock reveals the secret that he's been keeping to the rest of the Avengers and let them know that Null, the god of the symbiotes, pretty much the god of darkness, is coming to Earth. All the other Avengers are, you know, honestly surprised. They're like, oh my god, this is bad, we gotta deal with this. But one key figure to pay attention to in this issue is Thor. Now, Thor, in the lore of the Venom mythos, actually fought the Null symbiote before. They called him the Grendel, kind of similar to the Beowulf mythos, right? So Thor knows that this god is coming. He's dealt with him before, and he's scared. And now this is a Thor that's powered up because he is now king of Asgard. He's not just a prince anymore, and he's still petrified. So this whole arc is pretty much Eddie Brock dealing with the inner turmoil of himself, coming out of it and setting up the future arc that Null, the god, is coming down and they have to deal with it. So that wraps up what happens here. So Chris, my main things for you, with this being, I don't want to say a full arc, but this is like, and obviously a lull in between two big arcs, right? We just had Absolute Carnage. Obviously this was a setup arc to the next event, right? How do you think this event and this arc changed Eddie Brock as a character? Do you think this has done anything to him?
Yeah, I do. I think this is more of like a kind of like a chapter 1 in the next book.
Okay.
If you take, Absolute Carnage as like the end of book 1 of Donny Cates' Venom.
Okay. I see that.
This would kind of be the chapter 1 of the second book. To me, this the story arc was more of like, it was like The Exorcist meets Castaway.
That is good combination, because that's what happened, right?
Yeah, he's on this island. It's a lot of reflection of self, where Absolute Carnage was a reflection of everything around him. Mm-hmm. It was really well done. I really liked it. And it was a great, like, kind of ending for this story to come back after, the COVID crisis stopped. The final issue to come out.
This final issue came out, right now. Yep. And there was a delay due to COVID. So my thing is the COVID break. I think that's something we're going to start looking more towards in comic book arcs that are ongoing or starting up again. Now we're getting back into the rhythm. Do you think the COVID break hurt this overall arc at all?
I don't necessarily think it hurt it. I mean, I think the COVID break hurt every arc, to be honest, as far as comics in general. But this one specifically, not as much. Like Donny Cates is on fire right now. I don't think that's ending because of COVID. A lot of this stuff has been done for a while, which, a lot of creators have said, like, I've had so much time to catch up and I even go beyond what I'm doing. I think it ended the story well. It was a really big issue. Like, you came back, and it's like a $6 issue.
I was going to say, like, the ending for this issue was so well done. This last issue was an oversized issue, like you said. I think $6 or something like that, whatever money costs. But, like, it did such a good job at the reflection of Eddie Brock, because the whole time he's sitting down and he's trying to convey that he's a good guy, but he wasn't sure. Like, when he was trying to kill Spider-Man, he thought he was the good guy. But he wasn't. He's trying to convince, I think, himself and the Avengers that he's on that path to good. And that's something we're seeing with the Venom character, right? He's developing from a 2D meathead, like, I need a shirt. Like, that's how we used to know him. He just killed things.
Venom.
And now he's a more three-dimensional character.
Yeah. And I think it helps with, they gave him Dylan, which they give Eddie something to lose, right? Like, when you have nothing to lose, you're going to be naturally maybe a little more reckless, maybe a little less caring. And you give him Dylan and a son something to love, and that gives you purpose, and that gives you a drive. So I think so that's awesome. I loved how they talked about he wants the world to kind of see him the way Dylan does, where that look of when Spider-Man swings by and people automatically know everything's going to be okay. And they see Venom and they don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, even the Avengers, because sometimes he's on the good side and sometimes he's in the back. He keeps going back and forth.
I do love that all the female Avengers think Eddie Brock is like the hottest bad guy of like the bad boy, like the high school bad boy with like the leather jacket and the motorcycle. Like Carol, like Captain Marvel's like going nuts about him, and She-Hulk's like, all right, relax, guy.
Yeah, I mean, She-Hulk wants Thor. That's why she got her man.
Yeah, she's got the All-Father. So like, I think that was really cool, just to throw in like a little like detensified comedy.
Yeah.
Mark Bagley's art was awesome through this whole arc. He's actually the co-creator of Carnage. So he's been around the symbiotes forever. And to see him kind of come back and like get better is always good.
I was going to say, like, the art with the symbiotes, because that's something that's always, like, I think, just as a viewer watching it, or reading, like, dealing with the fluidity of the symbiotes, because they're like slime and ooze and they can take rigid forms. I feel like if I was trying to draw, I'd be like, oh, it's so easy to mess that up. And in this arc, they did really well, like, because it was latched onto other creatures and the way they were entangled. That's
doing
something.
The T-Rex.
Yeah, on the T-Rex, it's something that takes a lot of skill to like how to manage that without it making it look like a jumbled mess. And then the last
arc, go to the guy who invented part of it.
Yeah, the last arc in this one, it's so well done. Yeah. And like I knew Mark Bagley, like I'm familiar with the name, but I didn't realize that was the creator of Carnage, so that makes sense. And
yeah, he's the co-creator of Carnage, so he's ground floor with the symbiote. So, and which was great to give Ryan Stegman a break after that Absolute Carnage like crazy fest.
Oh, he was definitely overworked on that, man. He did well.
So yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I think the biggest thing out of this is to know a couple things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Null is on Earth in these visions, almost like these Force visions or future visions that this connection that he has with him. The Avengers now know. Thor knows exactly what he's talking about, which I'm sure, because Donnie's also writing Thor. I'm sure they're going to explore that a little bit in Thor.
Maybe.
Possibly through a Grendel story arc or something that connects in the back.
It might be like a flashback of like Thor dealing with it after he comes back to Asgard after he fought him the first time.
Yeah, maybe, because he's dealing with Galactus right now, and that story's amazing. So, we'll kind of see what happens, but that's, I think, big takeaway number one. Number two, my biggest question really is, what is Dylan? Is Dylan even human? Is Dylan a, product of Venom and Eddie? Which sounds really weird and kind of gross, but in all reality, like, this Venom symbiote is really, the very basic definition of it. He's a parasite.
So,
and
thinking of Eddie, go ahead.
What I'm saying, like, that combining with Eddie, right? Like, he always talks about it like my other, I need my other.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a friend. It's not just the suit he wears. It is a part of him, right? Like, he got his hand chopped off. The Venom symbiote kind of creates, like, a fake hand for Eddie.
Which is cool. I like the black hand.
Like Anakin Skywalker-ish.
Yeah.
And which is cool. You see now he has, like, a black glove hand. And then you also have this, like, concept of, all right, does Dylan even know what he is? Because Dylan has this odd connection to symbiotes that he can kind of control them. He can open portals. He can change things. Is Dylan even human, or is he really kind of a symbiote who thinks he's a human?
I think Dylan is the first of his kind, to my knowledge, because symbiotes have been around for eons, right? We've seen in X-Men and other books, they've been on other planets and stuff. I think
they have their own planet.
Yeah, I think this might be the first time that a symbiote child was born. Not necessarily like from itself, right? We've seen that from itself with Venom, Anti-Venom, and all Carnage and stuff like that. But
Scream and all that.
Yes, but because of the intense bond that the Venom symbiote and Eddie Brock has, like, part of the Venom DNA is inside Eddie's DNA, right? So, and he had a biological son, so I think part of that is in him, and it's unique where it doesn't need a parasite. Like, he has a special connection to it. I think he's going to be such a big part to the upcoming story, because he's going to have a bond with the symbiotes, probably along the same wavelength as Null, because they came from Null, right? And so now he has a direct connection to the hive mind of the symbiotes, right? Yep. So I think Dylan can become the new god, right? I think he could become a demigod, if you will, because he has this direct connection with them, and I think it's going to be really elevating Dylan, and Eddie Brock's going to have to protect Dylan because he's going to be a key factor in it. I think he's still human, but he just has a deeper connection to the symbiotes that we haven't seen since Null, right?
I kind of like the notion that he's both. I kind of like the notion that he's like half symbiote, half human, and it's the first time a symbiote has actually melded in its original form with some type of humanoid, whether it's alien in origin or Earth human. I think that'd be cool to see that, to Dylan, like Dylan realize he's not really human, he's more kind of both in this weird, like his symbiotic relationship is just basically just him.
Yeah, he's not just human.
And we know Donnie loves to throw curveballs and stuff, and whether it's smaller stuff like Dylan was supposed to be his brother and is actually his son. The curveball about what happened with Eddie in the car accidents, like stuff like that. So I don't think the curveballs with Dylan's kind of story is over yet. No. Especially since Donnie created this character. So I think it's going to be kind of his little like project within this story to kind of make him kind of this grandiose like origin that gets revealed. Probably at the end when he's has to go up against Null with Eddie and whoever else.
Exactly. So. But then it has to get to a point where, like, after this is all said and done, like, you got to think, like, comics tend to go back to the status quo, right? So if Dylan gets this more connection, he gets stronger, it's going to be cool to see the creative way that he gets back to being depowered or just having a normal connection.
What if they take down Null, and obviously this is jumping ahead speculation.
Yeah.
You take down Null, Dylan has this unbelievable connection. He realizes what he is more so than who he is. He realizes what he is because he has this control over the symbiotes. One of Dylan's, like, you know, like kind of like you said, not necessarily like the new null god, but goes back to the planet of the symbiotes to basically like calm it down, to create order, and because of how unique he is, he becomes kind of like their leader in that sense, where it's like, listen, I have the power to kind of move us forward and not be looked at as just scary parasites who take over your mind, and kind of creates this like almost like a paradise on that planet where they can excel and kind of have order. So maybe he goes off into space and Eddie has to let him go, kind of thing.
All right, getting back to our main topic we're talking about here, which is the Venom Island story arc for issues 21 to 25. I think the question on everybody's mind ultimately, is this an arc people should buy and read?
Yeah.
My option, yes. Like you said, I think this is the beginning point to a new chapter in the Venom mythos. If you haven't read all the other stuff before and you want to jump on without reading the back stuff, you're entitled to your own opinion. But I think you could jump on with this issue here. I think this story arc sets you up for a lot of the future, and it does a good job of explaining the important stuff that you need behind. So I think it's a good jumping on point. It's a good calm before the storm setting up, and seeing a T-Rex Venom fighting Carnage is always cool.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to get it. I mean, technically, yes, it's a jumping on point. I don't know why you would jump on after Absolute Carnage.
I get it, but some people might.
Go nuts with Absolute Carnage, which has some of the best, like, Stegman's art, and that is unreal. But yeah, it's definitely chapter 1 in book 2. I would definitely read the first stuff.
Of course.
Like, Donny Cates is on fire. Like, he's taken Venom to the next level. Where it's like, oh, it's a book I'll pick up randomly if I want to see some cool fights.
Yeah, definitely.
Now it's a book with heart. It's a book with meaning. He's given, obviously, Venom his own backstory. He's taken this character, which is the best thing that, you know, quote unquote newer writers do, right? You take a character that kind of is in the lull and doesn't have much, and you make it something.
Yep.
And Donnie's definitely done that with Venom, so I would definitely pick it up.
And we want to hear from you guys who are listening or watching at home, in your car ride, or wherever you are. We want to get your opinion on the Venom Island story arc if you've read it, or if you haven't read it yet. After hearing our discussion, is this something that's going to be on your pull list? Is this something you're going to go out to the store and pick up? We want to hear your options. Hit us up on our social media links, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or in the comments down below on your favorite podcasting site or YouTube if you're watching it there.
Pick it up. Thor's afraid of a god. Pick it up.